Hey guys, what's going on? Jeb here, and in today's video we're going to be doing a little bit of technical analysis on Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency markets, and more specifically we're going to be doing a little bit of short-term technical analysis on Bitcoin, because if you watch the video I uploaded the day before yesterday, you'll see that I discussed this little blood fall that we saw come out of Bitcoin. And while that doesn't seem like a very major move, granted we only moved a little over 2% to the negative side, it's actually a very major development considering Bitcoin has been trading within about a 1% range over the last 2 weeks or so. And if you watch that video, in that video, I said that I didn't think Bitcoin was going to break this uptrend right here. And it's very, very important that Bitcoin doesn't break that uptrend, because if we come out here to the 4 hour, what we're going to see is that that uptrend constitutes the trend that Bitcoin has been in for the last several months of setting new consecutive higher lows. And that's a very, very important trend, because that's one of the ingredients, that's one of the building blocks for a new bull market. We want to see Bitcoin stay above this uptrend of support, but there's a catch. If we come back here to the 1 hour, what we're going to see is that Bitcoin currently finds itself in a pennant. And in fact, this isn't just any ordinary pennant. This is a bear pennant, because we see a pennant right here following some bearish price action, which indicates that this is most likely going to break bearish. In today's video, we're going to be talking about which direction I think this bear pennant is going to break, and whether or not we'll be able to hold this uptrend of support as a level of support, considering how important it is to a new bull market forming. We're going to be discussing all of that and more in today's video. I'm also going to be talking about some altcoin picks of mine later on in the video, so if you enjoy this video, definitely consider dropping a like, hitting that subscribe button, and smash the notification bell, guys. So without much further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Bitcoin is currently trading at around $6,261.50. If you watch yesterday's video, you will see that we're trading at exactly $6,266. I remember the price because Bitcoin had not moved a single penny in all of 24 hours. Of course, it jumped around a little bit, but it was trading at exactly the same level as it was 24 hours prior. And we're trading at basically the exact same price action the next day. Even though we're in a pennant right here, well, especially because we're in a pennant right here, we're seeing very, very low volatility. Coming into the end of this pennant, we do expect that, though, in contrast to the way the market has basically just been trading sideways for no real good reason here over the last couple of weeks, other than that the bulls and the bears are in a very heated deadlock right now. Anyway, Bitcoin is currently in this pennant, and we're going to be discussing that in a little bit more detail in a little bit, but let's go ahead and do the crypto market recap to start with. As you can see, I already had the market sorted a little bit differently. Bitcoin across all exchanges on average is trading at around $6,335 with a daily volume of around $3.8 billion, a little bit more healthy than what we've seen recently. We've seen Bitcoin's volume run all the way down to around 3.3 billion, quite a lot for the last couple of weeks. This is not a really great volume figure for Bitcoin. You used to see this on Ethereum back during the bull run. Sometimes you even saw that much volume on something like XRP or Bitcoin Cash, but it's definitely a little bit better than it was a couple days ago. We do want to see that continue to climb up, hopefully, as this accumulation phase starts to drag out and starts to end over the next several months. Bitcoin is up literally 0.01% over the last 24 hours, and Ethereum is up 0.16% over the last 24 hours. Not a lot of volatility. I discussed in yesterday's video. You can go on the channel and watch that video why Bitcoin's volatility is so low, and I discussed when I think that's going to be ending, but it's probably not going to happen in the next couple of weeks. Anyway, if we scroll down here and we sort by change over the last 24 hours, we do see some gainers. We see the Denta coin is a little bit in the green. We see it up by about 18.4%. But if we scroll down here, we see that there's a little bit more red than there is green. Let's do that one more time. Just a little tiny bit more red, probably maybe 40 altcoins in the green and 60 in the red. But if we zoom down here, we see that the biggest loser is Revin, down here by negative 9%. I think Revin was the biggest loser in yesterday's video, or perhaps it was the biggest gainer. I do remember commenting on that in yesterday's video. Anyway, if we sort by market capitalization here, again, there's not really a whole lot to discuss here in the top 10. Tether is back to being trading basically around where it's supposed to be. You can see it's been on this little rally, if you want to call it that, for Tether over the last couple of weeks, and it is nice to see Tether finally trading where it's supposed to be. It got back to that level a couple of days ago, though. Anyway, there is one more thing that I want to discuss, and that's $200 billion market capitalization for the total cryptocurrency markets. If we come in here to the last 3 months, we're going to see that this has been a rather important level of support and resistance here on the market. Now, I do want to make clear that support and resistance doesn't really exist on a market capitalization chart, but it turns into more of a psychological level of support and resistance than perhaps a technical level of support and resistance. And I think we're kind of seeing the same thing come into play right here. We saw Bitcoin come back down here, or total market capitalization come come back down here to around 200 billion recently, and now it looks like we're doing a similar thing. We've seen the market come down to this level several times and hold support here. We breached it a couple times, coming down to around 188 billion, but right now it looks like if Bitcoin doesn't break very, very bearish out of this bear pennant that we're about to discuss, total market capitalization may be holding around 200 billion. If Bitcoin does break bearish out of this bear pennant in a big way, we'll probably end up seeing the market come back here and double bottom around $187 billion. That would be my first level of support on market capitalization charts anyway that I would like to see, or that I would expect to see the market go. Anyway, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get back into the TA, because this pennant is actually rather important, considering it's basically the only short-term technical analysis that we can do on Bitcoin at the moment. If you guys watch the channel every day, you probably noticed that I haven't been doing a lot of short-term technical analysis. That's not really because I don't want to. It's just because you can't really do technical analysis on a sideways trading market. But right now, there is something interesting to talk about, and that is, of course, this bear pennant. Like I discussed earlier, this is a pennant, and actually, I have a video. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. We have a video for the course that I've already recorded that's going to be going live in early November, talking about pennants and wedges. And one of the things I talk about in that is that this is what is known as a bear pennant. We see the market is bearish right here, moving into the pennant, and when it enters the pennant, then what you normally see is that the market's going to either break bullish or it's going to break bearish in normally a rather spectacular way, because it is a triangle pattern. Typically, you see a lot of volatility come out of the breaks of these, and since we are moving bearish going into this, you would normally see this break bearish. More often than not, you're going to see this kind of pennant break bearish. So we're going to be running on the assumption that this is going to break bearish in today's video, because we also already, of course, have a little bit of bearish momentum as opposed to bullish momentum here over the last couple of days. I think that this is probably going to break bearish. So let's go ahead and discuss what happens, because if it breaks bullish, not a whole lot happens. Bitcoin just kind of inverse Bart Simpson's back up here to where it was trading around $6,400 or so. Not a whole lot of interesting things happen there. We probably go back up here and start trading sideways again, but I think it's a little bit more likely that we're going to break bearish, so let's go ahead and discuss that. Like I talked about at the beginning of the video, this uptrend of support is very, very important. So I'm going to go ahead and restate how important it is. This uptrend of support constitutes the long-term trend that Bitcoin has been setting for the last several months, of setting consecutive higher lows in motion. We want to see that continue. Now, guys, it's not the end of the world if we break this uptrend of support. Of course, we still have $6,000 down here as critical support. If we have to come back down there, it's really not the end of the world. But I would very much like to see Bitcoin hold this uptrend of support, because this is a good building block for a new Bitcoin bull run to start off. Because of course we talk about in the videos, and I talk about in the course in several videos in the course actually, about one of the ways that you see a Bitcoin bull market start is you see the market start setting higher lows, and you see it start setting higher highs. It's pretty simple. That's one of the easiest ways to kick off a bull market. You can also do it with fundamentals or break an important moving average, whatever. But one of the easiest ways to do it is by setting higher lows and setting higher highs. We already have the higher lows part, because we've been setting higher lows for quite some time here, but we also need to see higher highs. We want to see Bitcoin come up here above $7,400 and then hopefully set that as a level of support. But of course, for all that to happen, we want to hold this uptrend of support. We don't want to see Bitcoin go below it. It's very important. So let's go ahead and discuss what's going to happen here, because it's kind of hard with this technical analysis to discern whether or not Bitcoin is going to break this. And I'm going to go ahead and explain that. But one thing I want to point out here is that yes, Bitcoin is probably going to break bearish, but Bitcoin didn't really go all the way down to this uptrend of support. Now, there's different ways you can draw this uptrend of support and it still be valid. It's kind of a wide range here. But what that means is that this is a very wide range of support as well. So it doesn't really matter all that much how we draw it. But my point is that since Bitcoin's probably going to break bearish out of this, it has quite a long way, probably down to somewhere around 6150 before it can actually properly say that it's confirmed a breakout below this uptrend of support, because this uptrend of support, like I say, can be drawn in so many different ways. So Bitcoin has to go negative, maybe $100 or $140 or so, and that's not exactly impossible. I mean, we saw the same thing happen over here. But as I talked about in yesterday's video, the bulls and the bears are basically in a deadlock right now, guys. They're pretty much exactly evenly matched. And I really just don't see the bears having enough strength to push Bitcoin below this uptrend of support. I think the uptrend of support is stronger than the bears are right now. I think that this uptrend of support is going to hold. Now, there's a very, very good case that it doesn't. Let me explain why. One of the ways that you judge how far a breakout on a bear pennant is going to go is by using a target. And you basically draw the flag of the bear pennant right here, and you bring it down, and you say that that's probably about how far the market will go when it breaks bearish out of that. I almost never use these as targets, because one of the things I find with them is that they are very, very, very inaccurate. Excuse me if you can hear my dog in the background. Normally, they are very, very inaccurate, and a lot of times you see the market go somewhere around here, but sometimes you might see the market pull back that far or that far, or it might overshoot and go that far. It's a generality, but my point is that this generality of how far this market should go puts it below this uptrend of support. So if Bitcoin breaks bearish out of this pennant, and this pennant does show up halfway in a bearish trend the way that you would expect it to, if it breaks out the same distance as it moved when it was moving into the pennant, then we would probably see Bitcoin go below this uptrend. I think both of those pieces of technical analysis are complete inverses of each other. They're saying the two complete opposite things, and they're also both about equally strong. How strong this uptrend is about how strong the case is for this Bitcoin, for this bearish pennant breaking bearish. I'm not going to put a prediction on this, whether or not Bitcoin holds this uptrend of support if we break bearish out of this. I'm going to throw that back to you guys. Tell me in the comment section down below whether or not you think Bitcoin is going to hold this uptrend of support. Running on the assumption that it doesn't for a second, let's go out here to the 4 hour. Running on the assumption that we do break this uptrend of support, let's go ahead and discuss what happens if we do break this uptrend of support. Because I do want to make very clear that it's not the end of the world if we break this uptrend of support. It's not doom and gloom. It's not going to be the second coming of Christ or anything, but it's not something that you want to see. We do want to see Bitcoin hold this for the reasons outlined earlier, but if Bitcoin does break this, what's most likely is that Bitcoin's going to get support somewhere in this region, and I still really don't think that Bitcoin's ever going to go below $6,000 again. I just don't see the bears being strong enough. If the bears were strong enough, I think we would have seen a bearish breakout quite a long time ago, and we wouldn't have seen the just massive rally that we saw here. Now, of course, this was mostly manipulated because of Tether, so perhaps some are saying that we should actually be trading somewhere around this region because we're just blowing off the Tether pump right here. But nevertheless, I don't think the bears are strong enough to push it below $6,000. They definitely have the ability to push us all the way down to $6,000, but there's so much volume down there, and there's so many buy orders down there at $6,000 that I really don't think we're going to go below it. Worst case scenario in this situation right here is that we break this uptrend of support. Not the best thing in the world. You don't want to see that happen, but then we come down to $6,000 and then bounce and then go on from there. Like I said, tell me in the comments section down below what you think of that scenario and whether or not you guys think that that is what's going to happen, and whether or not we're going to hold this uptrend of support. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get on to a couple of altcoin picks that I have and a couple of trades that I have going right now. Well, one trade I have going right now, one trade that I'm going to be making very, very soon, because I know you guys are interested in what my trades look like, and I do make it a principle on the channel not to disclose how large my portfolio is, and I make it a principle also not to talk about most of my trades, simply for security reasons, guys, and also for privacy reasons. But I will go ahead and talk about these two because these are very, very good trading opportunities that you guys can learn a lot from. One of them is actually on XRP, and I've talked about in the past how I've said good and bad things about XRP. I kind of like the project. I like what they're doing. I think it's kind of contrary to what cryptocurrency is about, them working with banks. But overall, I do think it's a project that is very profitable and that will end up doing what it's actually setting out to do. And I'm at least bullish on the fundamentals enough to be comfortable trading in it and long-term investing in it. And one thing that I've noticed on this chart, well, not even recently, I noticed this several months ago, is that 7,000 Satoshis on XRP over Bitcoin is a very, very important level of support. Let's go back out to the 4 hours so I can show you that. I know we're bouncing around here. If we go back out here, if we go back out here to the 4 hour, what we're going to see is that 7,000 Satoshis is a very, very strong level of support and resistance for XRP. We've seen XRP come down to this level many times. Back over here, many months ago, this was a very important level of support for XRP back over here. And recently, we've seen it hold as a very important level of support right here. We saw when XRP got through it, it continued this little moonshot that it was on. We saw a level of resistance right there, and then some support more recently. And like I said, back over here, we saw a lot of support back over here. 7,000 Satoshis is undeniably a very important level of support on XRP, and we can see that the market is agreeing with me right now as we're trading just above it. So this presents a very good trading opportunity, because what you can do right here is you can use this previous price history, this previous price action, to assume that XRP is more likely to stay above 7,000 Satoshis than to actually go below 7,000 Satoshis. And because of what I've discussed in other videos and more recently, I don't think Bitcoin is going to go very bearish. Bitcoin may lose another 1 or 2% based on how it breaks out of that triangle pattern, but I don't think it's going to go very bearish, which means I don't think the overall feel in the market is going to be very bearish. So I think XRP is probably going to hold 7,000 Satoshis as a level of support. And like I said, that presents an interesting trading opportunity, because that means that this is a good time to be getting in on XRP for the long term. So what I've done is I've bought some XRP right here with a stop loss down here at around 6,750 Satoshis. I forget exactly where it is, but it's somewhere down here, so that I don't get faked out by one of these little fake out breakouts right here, but also enough so that I'm covered if XRP does fall through the floor down here, and then I can buy some in even lower if it comes this far, for example. But I also am buying this XRP, and I'm not planning on really trading this. I'm buying this for the next bull run. I am starting to accumulate for the next bull run because I think it's going to come in the next 6 months or so, and altcoin prices are still extremely low. So I wanted to go ahead and give you guys a little bit of insight into what I'm doing here. I have bought some XRP, and that is one of the positions that I'm currently holding. Another one that I'm currently thinking about getting into is actually on Cardano. You guys have probably noticed, if you've watched the channel for quite some time, that I've done a lot of TA on Cardano over the last several months because its chart is just absolutely beautiful. In fact, on the the trading video in the Cryptocurrency Technical Analysis Academy, I was trying to think of the exact name. The trading video that I have in CT2A, I actually use some of the history here in Cardano as an example for how to actually set up trades. And there's a very good example brewing right now in Cardano as well. And that would have to do with 1,000 Satoshis right down here. Because what we've seen is Cardano came down here and set a double bottom on a very, very important big even of 1,000 Satoshis, and we saw Cardano hold it. And what I'm looking for Cardano to do is to continue trending down here, and I want to see Cardano come down here and reconfirm 1,000 Satoshis as a level of support, and I'm going to be buying some with the stop loss down here around maybe 950 Satoshis, maybe 925 Satoshis, something like that, to cover myself, of course. But Cardano has lost a lot of its valuation. Its all-time high is up here around 9,000 Satoshis, guys. It's very far retraced from all-time high, and I like the product. I like the project enough to actually invest in it for the long term anyway, especially considering I think altcoins are going to be popping off like popcorn kernels here in about 6 months when the new bull market starts. And I think this is a good place to be getting in on Cardano, considering there's such an easy stop loss to set down here just below, honestly, one of the biggest, most important levels of mass psychological support that you can think of, being 1,000 Satoshis. I really don't think that that's going to break. If it does, of course, that's what stop losses are for. So this is a position I'm going to be looking into getting into. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys leave some comments down below telling me what you think about whether or not Bitcoin is going to break that pennant. And if it, well, of course, it's going to break it, but whether or not you think it's going to break bullish or bearish. Tell me if you think we're going to hold that uptrend of support as an important level of support, and if we're going to bounce off of it. And also tell me if you guys are in either one of these positions that I just laid out, because I think they're pretty decent positions, especially for the newer trader who's looking for a very safe position with a potential for very, very high return. Both of these positions have very, very high risk to reward ratios, in my opinion anyway. That's going to do it for this video, guys. I do want to thank each and every single one of you for watching as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.